Control what is in your hands. The first Stoic principle is learning to clearly separate what is in your control and what is not. Your effort, your actions, your discipline, your habits, and your attitude are fully under your control, but outcomes, timing, people's behavior, opinions, and external situations are not. Most mental stress comes from trying to control both at the same time, which creates frustration and confusion. Stoicism teaches that peace starts when you stop fighting reality and focus only on what belongs to you. When you accept this, your mind becomes clearer because you are no longer wasting energy on things that were never yours to control. When you focus only on what is in your control, your daily life becomes more stable and powerful. You stop overthinking results and start improving your effort. You stop worrying about how others will react and instead focus on how you behave. This shift changes everything because your energy is no longer scattered across things you cannot influence. You begin to understand that showing up with discipline every day is more important than obsessing over the final outcome. Even failure becomes easier to handle because it no longer defines you. It only shows what can be improved in your actions. This mindset also builds emotional strength over time. When something goes wrong, instead of reacting emotionally, you pause and ask whether it was in your control or not. If it was not, you let it go without carrying unnecessary stress. If it was, you take responsibility and improve it. This simple habit creates a strong and calm personality that is not easily shaken by external events. Life will always be unpredictable, but your control over yourself is constant. The real power of Stoicism is learning to stay steady inside while everything outside keeps changing. Do not react instantly. The second Stoic principle is learning not to react instantly because most damage in life does not come from the problem itself, but from your immediate emotional response to it. When something happens, your first impulse is usually driven by emotion, not wisdom. Anger, fear, frustration, or ego can take control in seconds and push you to say or do things that you later regret. Stoicism teaches that real strength is not in reacting fast, but in pausing long enough to think clearly before responding. That small pause creates space between what happens to you and how you choose to act, and that space is where control begins. When you train yourself to pause, you start breaking the pattern of emotional decision-making. Instead of instantly replying to criticism, you take a moment to understand it. Instead of reacting to insult or pressure, you step back mentally and observe the situation. This does not mean you become passive or silent. It means you become intentional. Most conflicts grow because people respond emotionally without thinking, and then the situation escalates beyond what it originally was. A calm response often reduces tension, while a quick reaction usually multiplies the problem. Over time, this habit builds inner discipline and mental clarity. You begin to notice that not every situation deserves your energy, and not every comment deserves your attention. The pause becomes your strength because it protects you from acting under temporary emotion. Stoic thinkers believed that between stimulus and response lies your freedom, the freedom to choose wisdom over impulse. When you master this gap, you stop being controlled by situations and start controlling your own mind, which is the highest form of strength. Accept reality as it is. The third Stoic principle is accepting reality exactly as it is instead of fighting it in your mind. Much of human suffering does not come from a situation itself, but from the resistance we create against it. When something goes wrong, the mind often moves into denial, frustration, blame, or this shouldn't be happening thinking. But Stoicism is clear. Reality does not bend to emotion. It must be understood first, accepted as it is, and then faced with clarity. The more you argue with what has already happened, the more you trap yourself in unnecessary mental weight. When you argue with reality, you suffer twice. First, through the actual pain of the situation, and second, through the extra layer your mind creates through overthinking, regret, and replaying what cannot be changed. A failure is already complete the moment it happens, yet the mind keeps reopening it again and again, searching for a different outcome that does not exist. This mental resistance does not fix anything. It only drains your energy further. Stoicism removes this second layer of suffering by allowing you to face the moment fully, without pretending it should be different than what it is. Once reality is accepted, your mindset shifts from emotional struggle to practical response. Instead of asking, "Why me?" you begin asking, "What now?" And that is where control returns. Acceptance is not surrender or weakness. It is the end of internal resistance, so your energy can move into action instead of conflict. When you stop fighting reality, your thinking becomes sharper, your emotions settle, and your response becomes more effective. That is the real strength Stoicism teaches, not controlling everything outside, but mastering how you meet what is already in front of you. Stop seeking validation. The fourth Stoic principle is learning not to depend on external validation for your sense of worth. When your happiness is tied to likes, praise, approval, or other people's opinions, your peace becomes unstable because it is no longer in your control. Every day, people's judgments change, their attention shifts, and their expectations rise or fall. If your confidence depends on that constantly moving standard, then your emotions will also keep rising and falling with it. Stoicism teaches that true stability comes from building self-respect internally, not borrowing it from outside voices. When you seek validation, you start living for reactions instead of living for values. You begin to shape your actions based on what will impress others, not what is right or meaningful for you. This creates a quiet pressure where you are always performing, always comparing, and always waiting for approval to feel enough. But the Stoic mindset breaks this cycle by shifting focus from external judgment to internal standards. The question changes from "Will people approve of this?" to "Is this aligned with who I want to be?" That shift removes a huge amount of mental stress. Once you build self-validation, your confidence becomes stable even when opinions change. Praise no longer inflates your ego, and criticism no longer destroys your self-worth. You start understanding that other people's views are just perspectives, not definitions of your identity. This does not mean you ignore feedback, but you stop depending on it emotionally. Over time, you become more grounded, more consistent, and less affected by noise around you. Real strength in Stoicism is when your value does not increase with praise or decrease with criticism, because it was never dependent on either in the first place. Choose discomfort on purpose. The fifth Stoic principle is intentionally choosing discomfort, because comfort slowly weakens discipline, while controlled difficulty strengthens the mind. When life becomes too easy, the mind starts avoiding effort, delaying hard tasks, and seeking shortcuts. Over time, this creates a fragile personality that struggles the moment real challenges appear. Stoicism teaches the opposite approach. You train yourself through small, controlled difficulties so that when real problems arrive, you are already prepared to face them without panic or collapse. Choosing discomfort does not mean harming yourself or living without balance. It means deliberately doing things that challenge your habits and build inner strength. Waking up early even when you feel lazy, staying consistent when motivation is missing, controlling your impulses when you want instant pleasure, and pushing through tasks you normally avoid. These small acts create mental resistance training. Just like physical exercise strengthens muscles, mental discomfort strengthens discipline. The more you practice it, the more control you gain over your reactions and habits. When you regularly choose difficulty, real-life challenges stop feeling overwhelming. Problems that once felt heavy become manageable because your mind is already trained to deal with pressure. You stop breaking under stress because you have learned how to stay steady in discomfort instead of running away from it. Stoicism builds a mindset where struggle is not avoided, but used as training. In the end, your strength is not measured by how comfortable your life is, but by how calm and controlled you remain when life becomes uncomfortable. Focus on character. The seventh Stoic principle is focusing on character instead of reputation. Reputation is something that exists outside of you. It depends on what people think, say, or assume about you. It can change quickly based on opinions, rumors, or temporary impressions. One moment people may praise you, and the next moment they may misunderstand or judge you differently. Because it is external and unstable, Stoicism teaches that building your life around reputation creates constant insecurity and pressure. Character, on the other hand, is completely internal. It is defined by your values, your choices, your discipline, and how you behave when no one is watching. Stoics believe that real strength is not in being seen as good, but in actually being good in your actions and decisions. When you focus on character, you stop trying to perform for approval and start living according to principles. You choose honesty over image, discipline over appearance, and integrity over approval. Over time, this mindset creates deep stability. Reputation can rise and fall based on situations you cannot control, but character is built slowly through consistent actions you can control. Even when people misunderstand you, your inner foundation remains strong because you know what you stand for. Stoicism teaches that you should not waste your life chasing how you are seen, but instead focus on who you are becoming. In the end, reputation is temporary, but character defines your real identity. Protect your energy. The eighth Stoic principle is learning to avoid unnecessary negativity and protect your inner peace. Emotions like anger, jealousy, resentment, and hatred often feel powerful in the moment, but they rarely create anything useful. In reality, they disturb your clarity more than they affect the situation or the other person. Stoicism teaches that your energy is one of your most valuable resources, and once it is wasted on negativity, it does not come back easily. That is why protecting it is not weakness, it is discipline. When you allow negative emotions to take control, you slowly lose focus on what actually matters. Anger pushes you into reactive decisions. Jealousy makes you compare instead of improve, and resentment keeps you stuck in the past. These emotions do not solve problems. They only extend them inside your mind. Stoic thinking encourages you to observe these feelings without feeding them, because whatever you feed grows stronger. If you feed negativity, it expands. If you step back from it, it loses power. Protecting your energy means choosing what deserves your attention and what does not. Not every argument needs your response. Not every opinion needs your reaction. And not every situation deserves emotional investment. When you stop engaging with things that disturb your peace, you create space for clarity, focus, and better decisions. Over time, this practice builds a calm and controlled mindset where you are no longer easily pulled into emotional chaos. True Stoic strength is not reacting to everything. It is knowing what is not worth your energy. Prepare for loss. The ninth Stoic principle is preparing your mind for loss, because everything in life is temporary and can change at any moment. People can leave, situations can shift, opportunities can disappear, and plans can fail even when everything seems stable. Stoicism does not teach you to live in fear of loss, but to understand it as a natural part of life. When you accept this truth in advance, you are no longer shocked or broken when change arrives, because your mind was already prepared for it. Most emotional suffering comes from expecting permanence in things that are naturally temporary. We become attached to people, comfort, success, and stability, and we quietly assume they will stay the same. When reality proves otherwise, the mind reacts with pain, denial, and confusion. Stoicism trains you to mentally rehearse change so that nothing feels completely unexpected. This does not reduce your love or effort in life, but it reduces the shock when life moves in a different direction than you planned. When you prepare for loss, you become stronger and more emotionally stable. Instead of being destroyed by change, you adapt to it. You learn to appreciate what you have without assuming it is permanent. This creates a deeper sense of gratitude and balance because you are present in the moment without clinging to it. Stoic strength is not about avoiding loss, but about being ready for it, so that when it comes, you respond with clarity instead of collapse. Live with purpose. The 10th Stoic principle is living with purpose instead of living on impulse. Impulses are temporary reactions driven by emotions, habits, or momentary desires. They push you toward what feels good right now, not what is right or meaningful in the long run. Purpose, on the other hand, is a clear direction you choose for your life based on values, discipline, and long-term thinking. Stoicism teaches that a strong life is not built by following every feeling, but by following a consistent inner direction. When you live on impulse, your decisions change with your mood. One moment you feel motivated, the next moment you feel lazy, distracted, or emotional, and your actions keep shifting accordingly. This creates inconsistency, regret, and a sense of being out of control. Stoics break this pattern by stepping back from emotions and asking a deeper question. What is the right thing to do right now? Not what feels easy, not what brings instant comfort, but what aligns with character and long-term growth. This shift brings structure to your life. Living with purpose builds stability, discipline, and self-respect. Instead of being pulled in different directions by every emotion, you start acting from a clear inner foundation. Even when motivation is low, purpose keeps you moving forward. Even when distractions are strong, purpose keeps you focused. Over time, this way of living creates a strong and grounded personality because your actions are no longer random reactions. They are deliberate choices guided by direction, not impulse. If you truly understood all of this, pause for a moment and really reflect on it. How different would your life become if nothing had the power to mentally break you anymore? Imagine facing problems, setbacks, criticism, or loss without losing your inner balance. Imagine still thinking clearly when others panic, still staying calm when things don't go your way, and still moving forward when life feels heavy. That kind of mindset does not come from luck. It comes from training your mind to respond instead of react, to accept instead of resist, and to focus only on what you can control instead of what you cannot. A calm mind is not a weak mind. It is a trained mind that refuses to become what it suffers. It does not absorb chaos, it observes it. It does not get destroyed by pressure. It learns how to stand still inside pressure. Real strength is not loud, and it is not emotional reactions or quick anger. Real strength is quiet control, patience, and the ability to stay steady when everything around you is unstable. When your mind is calm, your decisions improve, your emotions become stable, and your life starts moving with direction instead of confusion. So think deeply about this idea, not just as motivation, but as a way of living. If you start applying even a small part of these principles daily, your mindset will slowly shift from reactive to controlled, from emotional to balanced, and from unstable to grounded. Life will still bring challenges, but they will no longer define you or break you mentally. If this video gave you value, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments because your opinion matters here.